Welcome everybody to the Campfire Passport podcast. Today we're going to do an intro about our podcast that, again, it's a big shout out to Morgan. It's his favorite part of the show. Always got to dedicate these to him. It's always going out to Morgan. Today we're going to do the origin story for Steve and Tyson. Both are regular podcast people for us now, so everybody should know them. They're a big part of our group, big part of what we do here, and it's really fun to sit down and listen to them go through some things. There's a couple of surprise things. There's a couple real big tangents, which is pretty typical for us these days. And we wrap it up with some future talks, which are nice too. So it turned out to be a really nice episode, I think. Beyond that, I don't think there's any like weird clerical stuff to go over. As always, I will kick it over to Colin though, just in case. Oh, before I do though, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I like to steal that from Colin. Back to you, Colin.
Yeah. So, thanks. Yeah. Now that way I have nothing to add. So we can just do a let's get into it. Sean had an error? Why do you have an error?
I don't know. Now I think it's good except for... Okay, here we go. Now we're cooking. I had 0% uploading for quite a while.
Welcome to the club.
Well, there wasn't anything to upload, so...
Weird. Why is it acting like that? Huh. Okay, well, here we are. How you guys doing?
Good.
So good.
Just fine.
So good. That's great.
So good.
So Colin and I had an adventure today that was kind of fun. We decided to go film what do you want to call that, Colin? Oh, the In the Shop. I had to ask Colin.
It was for In the Shop.
I had to ask Colin if somebody hadn't been watching In the Shop and had to have it explained to them, a stranger, not one of us, like what would that be? How would someone film an In the Shop? And so, he told me, and I think it was right. I think he mostly had the concept down pretty tight. But then we didn't have a microphone that was working, so that was the first problem that we didn't find out till later. The second problem that we found out while we were there is that I got stuck real bad. Just very bad.
And how did that occur?
Well, I drove over a rock and it got stuck under me, and then I couldn't get off of the rock. That rock that I got stuck went between my radius arm and my driveline and just hung out there. It wanted to stay there for a while. So it was good. So I could not really turn, not really go forward, not really go backward. Just stayed in one spot until Colin rescued me. It was really nice. It was a great way to spend your lunch. This will only take 45 minutes to an hour, turned into 2 hours real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick. Yeah.
Hey, that's where you wanted to go, so all right.
Oh, it was my fault 100%. I was like, we'll just go up this little thing that I've gone up 100 times. It'll be fine. And I drove up to it and I thought, this looks a little different. Oh, it's no big deal. I just watched somebody go over it on Instagram like 2 weeks ago. I saw his tire tracks, so I was like, I can go there. It's another Land Cruiser. Of course. And
do you have an LS?
No, but they made it. So yeah, I guess I had too much power that I couldn't use. Once two wheels are off the ground, the power doesn't really matter anymore, it turns out. I didn't understand that when I did the swap. That wasn't part of my plan at all. I had always thought that they would stay on the ground. Maybe it's because it's lighter.
They didn't
That's
tell
the
you
whole
that
thing.
at
Now
swap
it just
school.
floats. No. Yeah, it was dumb. That was a stupid move, and it would just so happen to be podcast day. If it was like, a week ago, I probably wouldn't think about it, but like all I can think about today is that Colin and I were talking about it before you guys got here, like I don't remember the last time that someone pulled me off of rocks and we had to winch me backwards. There was no recovery happening other than that.
Yeah.
So
winch backwards.
I think I
downhill.
could have gone forward, probably. Yeah. And it wasn't like a smooth backwards downhill. Like it pulled the Wagoneer a little bit too. It was planted.
Yeah.
Well, if you're
I don't
gonna
know
do
if you could have
something
gone
well.
forward. Because the way
I'm gonna say I could have.
I'll have to show you the video of it, because that front tire, the front driver tire, was off the ground entirely, and how it was positioned in the rock had like this perfect little cup, and so your radius arm was in this cup and like up against it, like the axle and radius arm up against it. So you were pushing, even if you could go forward, it was going to push up against the next step that you weren't going to be able to get over, because you had no tire to lift the rest of the axle over it. It was just totally beached the axle. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Well done.
It was great. Yeah. Not my finest moment, but whatever. Such is life. So, with that being said, today we're not going to talk about that because that's not that fun. We can't talk about the fact that I got stuck for an hour. I mean, we could, but it would get old pretty quick.
Be a little dry.
Downloads.
We're gonna go back to our origin stories, which we've done with most everybody else, right, Colin? Is it everybody else done?
Yeah, these are the last two of the main group, man.
Okay, so we got our last two, and what's going to happen here, because I know you guys are, avid listeners of the podcast, Tyson and Steve, but if you're not, and you had to explain this to someone else, like, someone would have to explain in the shop, we want to hear your whole story. How did you get into off-roading? How did you get to where you're at? What are the trials and tribulations along the way? How'd you start camping with us? That kind of stuff. So, Steve, I'm going to have you go first.
Oh, thank God.
Well, my whole.
Oh, wait, maybe Tyson.
Oh, damn it.
No. No,
Study.
Steve.
Well, I guess my whole thing started off on the water, actually, which is weird, because I grew up sailboating. We didn't really do much off-roading growing up, and a lot of the camping that we did was on the sailboat, where we'd be in the San Juans for like 2 weeks at a time. So it feels like that's the same elements as far as, making it work, or whatever you can to stretch ice, or let alone not even have to use ice for going from port to port or harbor to harbor or whatever it may be. Very limited resources, or sometimes not stuck, but navigating between an island over the course of an entire day. And me trusting my parents being completely lost, and my dad going, at times we had no fucking clue where we were at.
Oh, man. It's funny.
It's that same time where we've kind of been in those same situations, like, well, we're at 7,000 feet on this pass that we're not able to get over now, and now we have to turn around, and even turning around is now
a problem. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But
it's a good parallel. I think that works. Like, it's really close. Real quick before we move on, because I got to get this thought out there, otherwise I'll forget. I think my like retirement dream is not maybe sailboating, but I think it'd be cool to do
More of a motorboating guy.
A motorboat kind of trip. Yeah.
That's why
that seems fun.
we did a couple of those up in the San Juans. My uncle who we always did like tubing, and in the wintertime we do. He had a big Suburban, so he'd tow us around on inner tubes behind his truck. But he took a kind of a small yacht, I would say, not really yacht. It's a bigger than normal boat, one that you would not ever be able to trailer. And he followed us around, or we followed him around, really, on the sailboat. And that was a really fun year because we were able to kind of cover way more ground by just being able to kind of put the kids on the big boat and go from port to port, and have my dad be able to sail much faster without having to manage 2 children.
Yeah.
But really, it kind of lagged from there. We just did a lot of RV camping and such. My parents always had a trailer, RV style, a mic set up, basically, where we're at KOA campgrounds and such. So we're still covering, lots of road tripping. But started off-roading. Probably the first vehicle that I purchased was a 91 second gen, first gen Tacoma, but second gen Toyota pickup.
Not a Hilux, right?
Yeah.
So what would that be? A third gen Hilux?
Yeah. I'm not even going to go down that road.
Okay.
Jesse,
I thought I might be able to
Jesse,
bait you into that one.
I would
Where's
just
Jesse?
call it's the Gen 1 Tacoma.
Yes.
Okay.
But bought that and had the plans of kind of turning that into an off-roader, because Jesse at the time was doing his 85 build and was pulling off his high pinion solid axle off his 85. So I, at the time, had purchased a Salt SAS kit from Graham through Trail Gear, sliders through Trail Gear, and had it all at Casey Burgham's house ready to go. And then at that time was when I moved to the Valley. So I left my truck basically in the Valley with Casey, because at the time when I had left, it needed a head gasket. And he said that he'd gladly do it for me. So he threw it in, and he also did the long tube downheaders on those. And
was that truck a V6?
no, thank God.
Yeah.
It was a 22 RE.
Okay. Yeah. That's why Casey was so eager to take it on. Not as big of a deal.
Casey also had
You don't do head
turbo
gaskets
setup.
on a 3-liter, man.
Yeah.
You put a
Casey also had
3.4 in.
turbo setup that he was
Yeah.
gonna put on it.
Cool.
We were gonna kind of do a slightly RET setup on it, but ended up selling that, and then that was when I bought a WRX, and then did the classic WRX move where I sold my WRX for a Tacoma.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean,
But did it have blown head gaskets
and that was
when
when
you
I
sold
started
it?
Subaru to tall Subaru.
Yeah, so I bought my third gen straight off the lot, trading in my WRX for it, and then 4 months later went on Jesse's bachelor trip with you guys.
that's crazy.
All right. Yeah.
I didn't realize that time frame was so short between those two things. That's
Yeah,
wild.
I guess I didn't realize that either. Because that would have been. That was the first time, the bulk of us in Central Oregon met you, and I had just assumed that you were like part of that group of people that were doing that with Jesse, but you lived in the Valley. Like I just I had no clue that was like a first timer over here type situation. So
Well, we had met a
Interesting.
couple times through the Ben Dub stuff, through a
Yeah.
couple of the poker runs, and I think one of the car meets at the storage unit where the Fit Garage was and Graham's shop was.
Mm-hmm.
but at that time I didn't, I just had my Subaru wagon and motorcycle at the time.
Damn, you almost had a really cool Toyota before you had a really cool Toyota. That's kind of crazy.
I really, like it. Honestly, if I could go back in time, I would have just kept it and done exactly what I wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
And eventually, it would have just been either buy a crated motor to put in it, or like I think Casey and I had debated. Like I think it was like I could be wrong on the motor, but it was out of a Lexus. It's like a 1UZ.
Yeah, that's the V8.
Yeah, the V8.
Yeah.
Out of
It's
an
one that you could
LS400.
actually fit in that bay.
Yeah.
So that was one that we were looking at trying to do that with it, as a big long shot.
Yeah. I also think there's an interesting storyline here where you have parts sitting at Casey's house waiting for you all the time.
I still do. I have.
I know. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. It's still going on.
Yeah.
Maybe he still has the truck and you didn't know.
Well, what it does is it also forces me to have to see people that I need to see.
Yeah. That's helpful. I hide stuff in the garage and then it doesn't help me see anybody.
Yeah. One at the time, it was all because he was going to do a bumper for me, and then he got a job with Thurin. So he went from kind of needing some work to having more work than he needed. So it was kind of like yeah. Which, whatever, I just have a winch ready when the time comes.
Well, there's one thing about a winch. It's that, when you need it, you're not going to have it.
Yeah, exactly. It's better off just on the shelf anyway.
Yeah, they do a lot better there. All right, well, that's cool. Yeah, I'm trying. So, what was the first camp trip that you went on? Is it
Jesse's bachelor party?
Jesse's bachelor party. Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
that was awesome too.
Truck threw sliders on it, and I think I found Craigslist tires and traded him. There we go. Sorry. Traded my stock tires for some same size, and threw on sliders, and that was it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Used tent and bars.
Yep. That was fun. That was a really fun.
That's an
Little
interesting.
That's
That's a good break-in road to go down Barlow Road as your kind of first introduction to that type of travel and camping and stuff. That's cool. I could definitely see that as being one of the, like, doing that as your first road and being like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely interested in doing more of this now.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a cool spot. That's awesome. Well, and then you've been a fixture ever since. So there you go.
Yeah, and I mean, that trip instantly also made it like, so any other trip after that, like there's no need to worry about pinstriping or zebra stripes or any kind of nice and broken in the first night when we went down that pretty dense Manzanita trail.
God. All I can remember is Doc jumping out at all the bushes, trying to bite the trees and the.
Yep. Yeah, he broke the screen out of Jesse's canopy window just the second we hit the dirt.
That was good.
And one less Subaru
cool.
in the crew. Awesome.
And one less Subaru.
Yeah, I mean, I have already talked about this, but side Subaru story. When we went to the Barlow Road camp spot a few weeks ago, I drove the Subaru, and it was way better than expected. I had to take the hard lines to make it harder. It was awesome. Then it might have gotten a little warm on the way back, but
I hated. I disliked my WRX, but I still do really like my old 2.5 GT wagon, my '98 wagon.
I think those are cool.
Body style was a cool wagon.
So for our listeners.
It was just.
Yeah, they're awesome. For our listeners, Colin and Tyson are possibly the biggest Subaru haters, at least on the West Coast. I mean, it's horrendous how much they
Emotionally,
hate
not physically.
Subarus.
We're not big people, but yeah,
No, neither one of you. Small, exquisite bulk, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Metaphorically.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Yeah, they don't like them. They don't like them at all. And I'm not Steve, right? Like, I didn't own a WRX wagon by any means, but I kind of don't mind them most of the time. I sit in this weird gray area because really, like, if we get Mike on the podcast and talk about Subarus, he really likes them. He'll say that he doesn't. Shout out to Mike here.
No,
but he does
loves
love
everything.
them.
Yeah.
Well, that's because he loves it, because he's a big, loving person. But he also really likes Subarus because he thinks they're cool. And a lot of people think they're cool because, you know, they are cool to a lot of people. But man, Colin and Tyson will not stand for it.
Did you?
They're just
another side Subaru story. I don't know why we're gonna just go off on Subarus forever now.
We hate them so much. Let's spend forever
But-
talking about them.
Did anyone see the reveal deal? Like
oh,
the
yeah.
reveal
The people
event?
that booed.
Yeah, and Pastrana's like out, or no, was it? Yeah, it was Pastrana, right? He's out there and he just like he pulls the sheet off of it and like he's like trying to hype the crowd about it, and everyone's like, "This is dumb." Like you just hear this like murmur in the background, like that sucks.
So the whole
massive
premise of this.
disappointment.
Yeah. The premise of this, for anybody that hasn't seen it, or if you guys hadn't seen it, Tyson and Steve, Subaru released a new version of the 24 WRX, the WRX TR, and TR is supposed to stand for tuner ready. So everybody kind of thought, hey, this is going to be like an Evo RS scenario, maybe. Like, it's going to be stripped down, it's going to have whatever, like something cool. I don't even know what it has. I think it's basically just a WRX with a different color or something. In fact, you guys keep talking. I'm going to try to figure out what that actually is, because now I'm really curious.
Oh, it was. I just laughed extremely hard when he pulled the sheet off, and like I said, you just maybe I should cut that in to the podcast here because it was so sad. Just everyone's just.
Sounds like it's just got Recaros. I can't.
Yeah, so it's the like highest trim level is what they've decided. Instead of tuner ready being like you should be able to tune it, they made it the most like the highest trim level, because originally I guess in 06 they did have a TR model and it was the stripped down model like an RS, but basically they just did like Recaro seats, Brembos, stiffer suspension, blah 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 blah, and they like just top trim leveled it instead of making it the thing that probably everybody wants. And the reason that like the BRZ and the the GT86 sell well is because they're like the stripped down ones. Like they sell a cheap one. That's why people want it. It's not because it's the one that has leather and all the stuff. Like those sell, and that's got its own place, but you can't call it the tuner ready model and then do that. It makes no sense. It's probably, I didn't read right there, but it's probably 50 grand, I would bet, or 45 at least.
There's a reason why I kind of
says.
walked away from Subaru
48.
as far as that goes.
48, yeah. So there you go, Sean.
$48,000.
Right at it.
That's, I know they're not the same, but that's $14,000 more than a GT86.
That seems
So-
so ridiculous.
I don't get it. Like,
I think I honestly think I paid 21 for my base model WRX, like absolutely base model, no sunroof, nothing,
yeah. Well,
and that's what I wanted. Was
Tyson's face, he's just, I don't want to talk about this. This is the stupidest conversation we've ever had. Can we talk about poop already?
Yeah. We haven't gotten there yet, so thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
Well, that's a
Well,
perfect
yeah,
transition.
talking
Hey,
about-
Tyson.
Talking about poop with
There you go, yeah.
We have been talking about poop, Sean, the whole time.
Exactly.
one man's Subaru is another man's poop,
There you go.
is the old adage.
Yes.
Man, you ruined my I was so ready to get off of this too.
All right.
Okay,
Smooth
well,
transition.
so
Go.
Tyson, I didn't do this for Steve. I should have given some context into how I know Steve, but Steve filled in the blanks there, so it's fine. Tyson, I always tell people, is my car friend that I call if I have a question. So everybody else, we have an amazing group of friends, and they're all very savvy, and everybody's got their own thing they're good at for the most part. But Tyson is great at everything car related. He's like the next level most of the time. So I always kind of tell everybody, if I have to give any sort of recommendation to Tyson, it's usually, this is the guy that I call when I need help, because I'm usually that person for a lot of other people. So it's like, he's the supervisor at the Sean's hotline of car care things, and just an all around car person, which is fun. I'm curious to hear, in Tyson's words, his transition to every car but Subaru into Jeeps, which are, I mean, come on, are they that much different than Subarus?
Well, at least it's an
I
XJ.
did own a Subaru. I owned a 1980 Subaru DL.
It's a GL?
Whatever the
DL.
wagons were, but it was just a single range 4-wheel drive. And I took some Chevy 6-lug wheels and on a drill press with no accurate measuring at all, drilled 2 extra holes in it so that they would fit on the Subaru, and somehow it worked. It spun out into a ditch, and somehow I didn't die. So yeah, that's my experience driving Subarus.
I'm glad that you brought that up, though.
That one sucked too. Yeah, so they all suck.
No, it's nice though, because if you ever like run for office or something on a platform of I hate Subaru, someone's going to dig that up. So it's nice to get it out.
I just want to get it out.
Get ahead of it,
I want
yeah.
you to hear it from me.
Yeah, that's right. I regret nothing.
Yeah.
I don't regret that car. I learned a lot from that. That you should, if you're gonna re-drill new holes and wheels for the lug nuts, you should probably be as precise as possible, rather than willy-nilly with some chunks of 4x4 and a drill press that
Seems to have worked out.
I'm still here. I don't know if the car is, but yeah, we're doing all right.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
It's probably in the same place as your Scirocco.
Oh man, that poor Scirocco. So like Sean said, been into cars for a long time. Should I just start from square one with the whole origin of
Start at age
camping?
2.
Or so there we were.
Whatever you want,
It was
man.
a beautiful day. No, I'll kind of summarize the first part of growing up in Hawaii, which makes camping pretty easy to access. I lived on the Big Island, which is where we lived was more central, so it wasn't like on the beach, but an hour drive and you're on the beach. I was in Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, so camping and that kind of stuff was a big part of growing up. My dad was a handyman for a local cattle ranch, so lots of projects, lots of little adventures I'd tag along with. And then he got more into woodworking, carpentry, building houses, and that translated into he would start building certain things into campers. So when we moved to the mainland, moved to Oregon, he would buy some, like, maybe a rundown camp trailer and fix it up. So I started to learn that there's value in these things that maybe, they're not these brand new, like Airstreams or something like that, but finding that cheap deal and fixing it up. So that's been a big part of how I approach the whole car thing, and finding stuff that needed a little bit of love to make it into something cool has always been my thing. So finding a Scirocco, a 78 Volkswagen Scirocco for $200, spray painting the wheels red and spray painting the rest of the car flat black, that turned into actually cutting springs, lowering cars, and then I found out it's really fun to drive them fast. So I drive them fast, wreck them, figure out how to fix what I broke.
Get in a little trouble.
Little is an understatement. Yeah, reasons I'm never running for office is because of all of those things I did behind the steering wheel. So all of these hood rat cars turned into gaining experience, knowledge, working on stuff more and more, because if I didn't fix it, it wasn't going to get fixed. I screwed these cars up. There's no way I was paying a shop to fix anything. There's no way I was going to show my face in a shop to explain what happened to have it fixed. So it turned into drifting. Really got into that from the Japanese influence. When 240SXs were really popular, really common, easy to acquire. Ended up getting a Miata that had a supercharger. Got into a lot of trouble with that. And I continued the journey with the cars, and then it was... I had seen that my friends, Colin, Sean, they've been getting into 4x4s, and I didn't know squat about 4x4s. I know that, like the Subaru, you pull a lever, all of a sudden, all four wheels are working. And so Colin ended up helping me find Share, the XJ I currently have, 2-door, 5-speed, kind of ticked all the boxes for me, and I think it had maybe 220,000 miles on it or something when I got it for $1,000. It had a baseball for a shift knob. It was not in terrible shape, but then the first outing we did the Edison Trail, and I think
no, it was
30
Klein.
feet in. Oh yeah, that's right, it was Klein, because that's when I put the legendary Colin says, if you take this line, you need to be as close to this tree as possible. So I hit the tree because that was as close as I thought I could be.
Yeah, you couldn't have gotten any closer.
Yeah.
I vividly remember that moment.
The door mirror goes,
and of course, in Tyson, just once he's on the tree, he just says, "Oh well," just keeps going. There was no reset, no stop.
Yeah,
just
like
drag it the rest of the way.
You know, getting that pinstriping off the Manzanitas right away. I just put a huge dent in the quarter panel right away. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was totally bone stock, and after visiting Klein in recent years, I have no idea how that Jeep made it down that trail. Because
God, I have many times thought about.
It's still difficult. It's crazy.
Yeah. I feel like it'd be so fun to take, a variety of stock rigs through there. Like if you had some sort of budget to be able to do something like a stock Ranger, a stock Disco, a stock XJ, like it'd be fun. but God, it's so rough on him. Like that thing, it's not like the craziest trail. We've talked about this, but it's just enough that it's just like hit after hit for a while, and it's a few miles long, and it's just enough to be brutal on something on stock tires.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
so
I'll
I
add a
don't
little
remember exactly which
side
trip it
story
was. Yeah.
for Tyson's introduction into the four-wheel drive world that I remember like very strongly was when, like you said, like Sean and myself and Luke, we had 4x4s, and we were starting to get more into like wanting to go out and use them and whatnot. And I remember having a conversation with Sean, and Sean saying, we really need to get Tyson into this, because I think that with his driving experience and his like his interest in being a good driver and like practicing skills like that to get better at driving, he would really like the off-roading aspect of it, because it's a challenge, just like driving fast or drifting is a challenge. It's just a different type of challenge, and that was like we both like fully agreed on that concept. And yeah, and that's when we finally pushed you far enough to say, okay, I'll look for something, and then you gave a budget, and that's when I came across the XJ and sent the ad over to you.
You give him your parameters, and he will scour the internet and come up with something. It's pretty incredible. But yeah, I continued to run share in a stock configuration for a long time, and I feel like, looking back on it, I was probably more of a nuisance, because I got stuck on everything. The
Oh, it was
time I was
fun.
going to bring up the first time I took it on Edison and got stuck on a small downed tree, like 30 feet in. I mean,
Yep.
Immediately I was very stuck and had to get winched off of it. So
Whoops.
it's been a fun, it's a learning experience. I definitely am way out of my league when it comes to actually driving and knowing what to do in certain conditions. An example, I just broke both front and rear differentials on share on our last outing, because I don't know, when it starts bouncing, I just kept going, and the shock on the drivetrain, it broke everything.
Tyson,
I didn't know
all
this.
of us would have, if we would have driven any of our vehicles the way you drove share on that on that obstacle, we all would have had the same result, because it was a lot of right foot and a lot of air catching.
It was significant. I remember feeling it felt like the entire truck was maybe a foot in the air. And when it hit the ground, of course, I heard the mechanical ping, bang, insert bad sound here. And then everyone who was nearby just went, "Oh."
I had no idea you did that. You broke both the front and rear diff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was
Oh my God. How did you get out? Did you just limp it through, or?
The rear was broken completely.
Oh my God.
I put it in 2-wheel drive, and it didn't move at all. So I put it back in 4-wheel drive, and it would, like, I could tell each rotation. You'd hear the ping wherever it hit the whatever part of the ring gear was broken, and so I just limped it down the easy part of the trail until it finally just quit, and then Jesse
It was at
showed me out.
the
Oh,
play
man.
area, the like not
Yeah.
the main play area, but the play area that's midway on the trail, right?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
there's like those little on the sand side road that you can take to get out. So Tyson kind of like followed along with us on there, and every once in a while you just hear like a clunk 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 ping, and then it would keep going, and then he'd and he made it
my
all the way
God.
to the gravel pit. So
Have you taken it apart yet?
No, not yet. I'm gonna order
jeez.
parts, and I think at this point I'm just gonna pull both the axles off, just so I can take them to the shop, and I don't have a dead vehicle that's just taking up space. Leave the
You gonna
truck
regear?
home.
Again?
Boy, yeah. I mean, technically,
keep going up.
I'm changing the gears, but I'm gonna keep the same ratio.
Nice.
Oh, that's something. Okay, well, anyways, that was a nice side. I saw the speed that Jesse went through that obstacle on Instagram or whatever, and I was like, "Oh my god, that is aggressive. That's got to be a 6,000
We were
pound
all
rig."
so determined.
Jeez.
We
yeah,
wanted it. We
Jesse
wanted
bounced it pretty hard.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Watching Raw
You're 2 for
Dog
2 in that spot.
on 40. Oh man. I can't believe Raw Dog made it up there though. It was incredible to watch.
That's a big truck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Big
thing
truck.
is huge.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome though. Hey, it's good.
Yeah.
So you went off-roading with us. It was awesome. You fell in love, of course, and plus you wanted to spend time with all of your best friends, so that makes sense.
Also true. Yeah.
And then
I couldn't keep up in the lowered cars with you guys on your 4x4s, so had
Yeah,
to
good point.
eventually once again call. I think it was you, Colin, that sent me the first rooftop tent
The tent?
that I got.
Yeah.
And that thing was, it was like $200 or something. So
Yeah.
super low cost of entry on that, and I think the first big trip was the Alvord.
that makes
At
sense.
that point, I had very little done to share. But yeah, after that, I mean, I was hooked, even with how much extra work this pieced together tent was. It was an old Mombasa that the previous owner's previous owner had left part of the ladder in the woods because they drove home when they were drunk, I was told. Not safe. Do not condone that. There was all sorts of weird stories about this tent, so it was a little weird, but it got us into the thing to, get out with you guys and see if that was our thing. And yeah, it's just been a hoot ever since. So been a process of upgrading the rig, be it share, going from totally stock to lifted 31s, 33s, now on 35s, moving to a different platform, running a 2000 Nissan Xterra 5-speed first gen, and learning a whole lot about that, going from learning about like leaf spring suspension and coil spring suspension and now torsion bar suspension and how much it sucks. And
Torsions
ways
suck.
to try and they suck bad. And just figuring out things that I'd never ever had to deal with in like cars and lowering cars and drifting cars and stuff like that. So totally different suspension geometry that's involved. I had never heard the term like coil buckets. Like what even the hell was that? Removing sway bars
Is
altogether
that just a
was
terrible coilover or what?
so there's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
to really learn, and I'm still learning stuff from these guys. So I appreciate the kind words that Sean has to say about me knowing a lot, but I'm just really good at pretending. Throw a lot of big words out there, and
Oh yeah.
anyone will believe you. It's great.
Oh, that's good. That's true, by the way. That's a good transition into the other thing we wanted to talk about. Now that we've gone through, the start, it's the future. Tyson just ran into a little bit of what's the word? I don't want to say heartache or trouble. I think it's adversity is the word on our
Trouble's
most
fine.
recent camp trip. Yeah. Well, and some trouble. And he decided, man, this Xterra somehow is too small for me. So I need more. I need something big. And so naturally, as a group, anytime someone says something like that, we give as much unsolicited advice to each other as humanly possible. So a lot of suggestions were made, and I think that Tyson narrowed down all of our suggestions, mostly bad, but some reasonable, into kind of a mid full size SUV for his next purchase, or his next build. And I think I wish we could have had like that whole thing as a podcast episode. Somehow, like the next time someone's about
the
ready to buy
disaster
something,
of it.
we'll just shop it around on the podcast. It can be like a panel discussion.
Shh, hold that thought. Just shush, shush, shush.
Yeah. Yeah. We could, like the talking heads around the table scenario. I think that's exactly what we need for decisions like that.
One time you had 8 guests on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We're just
Yeah.
going to have everybody here, have the chat full of people that are just like, you should
Yeah.
get a Range Rover or just
we'll call it
whatever.
Royal Rumble. It's a Royal Rumble.
So
Yeah.
We'll just
so
put
once
it
we
in
get
different
the
intervals,
likes
too.
and the follows up to what 1,000, Colin, we'll have a special live event.
Sure, if you
Everyone's
want
invited.
to set it at 1,000, yeah, that sounds semi-attainable.
Right. I want it to be a good goal, but not
Yeah.
unheard of.
Yeah,
All right. Shooting low. I like it.
So,
Well,
yeah, 15
collectively, we all
followers. Come on,
decided. We all decided that Tyson's either going to get a Tahoe or a Sequoia.
right. But
I don't know what
Tahoe,
Tyson decided, but that's what everybody
is-
else decided.
The chassis is the GMT 800 though, so not one of the early ones,
Yeah.
and it's
So,
not
yeah,
like
it would
Ryan's.
be nice if it
Yeah.
already been LS swapped. So
Yeah.
that
From the
that
factory,
be
in fact.
ideal. Right. Yeah, I feel like they've been doing it long enough. They kind of know what they're doing. I still don't trust 100%. It seems because it comes down to, again, my whole thing being buy something maybe a little bit beat up to fix up. And you can find, cheap Tahoes, cheap Sequoias that have dents here and there. Maybe the quarter panel's been kicked in because, your baby daddy was pissed off that you're driving off with his kids. There's always going to be some kind of great story with a cheap Tahoe. The Sequoia, probably not as good a story, but you're going to get the Toyota reliability, which is always good. Similar to what Aaron was saying in one of the last podcasts, is the V8 is not the most powerful, but you're still going to get decent reliability. Overhead cam, timing belt, that's all easy peasy stuff. And parts are readily available. So they're both kind of the same in that they're reliable, easily attainable. I just don't know if I could go with, because you're always going to save money going with a not Toyota, right?
On the front end, yeah.
But,
Yeah, exactly.
But torsion bars really put a
Yeah.
bad taste in my mouth. The torsion bars of a Tahoe, and I don't know, because I've got Share's not going anywhere because I put way too many dents in it. I'm not getting any money for this XJ. So that's going to be like the crawler, the hardcore wheel and rig, maybe the occasional put the tent on it if it's just me and my son going out for, a boys' weekend. But as far as a family camping / overlanding rig, I don't know if I need to build it as seriously as I'd like to. I want a solid axle swap anything that I get. But is that going to be necessary for what I'm going to use it for?
Right.
So that's the conundrum I'm in. Do I get something that is going to ride better right away, the Toyota, coil springs all around, or do I get something that I will plan on solid axle swapping but still be comfortable and large enough and be like, more like the Tahoe?
Physically,
there's
how much
What do I
there
do?
are
is there
coilover
in size?
conversions for the Tahoe, and it's not like it's giving you anything amazing as far as additional travel or anything like that, from what I could tell. But it is there. But also, I haven't looked at it for a while, but last time I looked, it was almost like the cost of doing that was so similar to just doing a solid axle. I don't know, like, why you'd bother, So I also don't know, because I haven't ever looked, but like there may be aftermarket torsions that could provide a better ride, a little bit of lift without cranking the arms, that might, assist in everything there, like having it ride, okay enough for the overland stuff, just run lower pressures or something like that. But because there might be like Old Man Emu torsions, or maybe Iron Man has some. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I think there was another company that had torsions, and I don't remember what the name was now. But I'm sure that there's ways to figure out, they both, like you said, they both have their downsides and they both have their upsides. So I think a lot of it's going to be for you is coming across one that's in the price range, and then just deciding, okay, that's good enough, and I'll just deal with what there is to deal with at that point. I still think you're going to get bored with the Tahoe, though, because they're just not attractive. I come too much from the
boring.
Yeah, I come too much from the the vehicles I have, I want to look at and be like, I like that. I like the way it looks. I like, if I do something to it, it makes it look even better, which is great because it already looked good. Where the Tahoe just falls completely flat on its face in every sense, like the interior, the exterior, but it's got an LS, and everything is so simple and cheap. So it's like, well, shoot. Whereas the Sequoia, at least the Sequoia, and I've seen some pretty damn good looking first gen Sequoias, and I absolutely will take the looks of a Sequoia over a Tahoe 100 out of 100 times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw
I
one
fully
in
agree on
traffic
that.
was on 35s, and that looked I mean, the 35s look small, which is a great incentive to
Well, it's a big rig.
go, 40s, obviously. So that looked really cool.
Starting point.
Another thing that Colin and I kind of talked about as a joke was the same generation Suburban. Because the Suburban, if you go 3/4 ton with the option of the 6-liter 4L80 transmission, that's less to be worried about. But back to bland as shit, enormous.
Yeah.
And
Way big.
I don't know if I could go from teeny tiny small SUV to gargantuan battleship.
Those things are huge. You could also get a 3/4. It's rare as hell, but you can get a 3/4 ton with a 8.1 and and like a 14-bolt rear. But that'd be a lot.
My fuel economy way more than I like an 8.1.
Yeah.
I mean,
Those things.
It's
I
not-
think an Abrams
not like
gets
the-
better fuel economy.
I don't think that the 6-liter powered 2500 Suburban's going to get good mileage, so it's just going to be slightly worse than that.
I think a 6-liter with a turbo would get better fuel economy than an 8.1.
Sure be fun.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm open to other options. It's got to be something larger because I still have a few years of, legally being able to force my son to go camping with us. And with the 2 dogs, wife, kid, all the gear and camping supplies to last us, for the day or two that we're going to be out before we could get to a store to resupply. We got to have more room.
Yeah. I took a peek in there at the end of this trip when we were in Rome, and I was like, man, I was talking to the dogs, and I just looking around like, wow, you guys are real crammed in here, aren't you?
Oh
yeah, they're pretty small inside.
It's tight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Lucky
Yeah.
my son is very low key, and he's just, hey bud, you doing okay back there? Yeah, doing all right.
Yeah.
So that's
He's grown so much
very
too.
fortunate. I
Yeah.
know he's
He just keeps getting bigger, and it's the same vehicle.
Cars stay the same size.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. What do you know?
well, I think those are good
Yeah, I don't-
options.
He will continue growing.
They're good options. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a ton more that are in that like size range. There's stuff that's like slightly smaller, and then outside of that, it's going to be bigger than even like we said, like the Suburban. But like you kind of run into the same thing of how much bigger is enough. And if you've already set the line at Sequoia and Tahoe, there really isn't much else, because I mean those are still bigger than like Sean's Land Cruiser or Aaron's Land Cruiser and my Wagoneer. So while those are still fairly decently sized vehicles, I mean, I like I said, I don't know where exactly your line is. Not that the options I just gave you there are any more affordable, because when you say Land Cruiser, it's tripling prices right there.
There's
But
an immediate tax on Land Cruisers, and 4-door crew cab pickups are also a thing. A Frontier has been an option that I've looked out for, just because then the cab is people space, and then you've got the truck bed, and that is a gargantuan improvement right there. We will have to make sure that, road snacks are a thing.
Yeah, they can't be on the roof.
Just don't put them on your roof
Drop
like
every
Jesse.
time. Yeah, can't put them on the roof.
Yeah.
Can't put them in
Sounds like
the
it's
back. Got to be accessible. And yeah, but truck tax also. You can add $10,000 onto what a cheap Sequoia, or even in bad medium condition, a truck is going to go for at least $5,000 more what these other rigs are.
Yep, SUVs are far cheaper.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
One of the other ideas relating back to the Suburban, because I Google or Craigslist looked for the Tahoe Suburban, and then I looked up a Yukon, and then there's a Yukon XL, and I brought up, well, let's just chop the Yukon XL into a truck, and it would be the Yukon.
Oh my God.
But that would still look like shit.
Yeah. It'd look worse.
A homemade Avalanche.
Yeah, they make that, Tyson. It's called an Avalanche.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has a
Come on,
plastic
we have an
floor.
Avalanche. We have an Avalanche at home. This is the Avalanche at home.
Oh, they're bad. But you can also get that in a 3/4 ton with an 8.1. So, or a trailer that could do it.
8.1.
I know. I heard that now.
8.1. Yeah.
Yeah. You said the word.
Anti-trailer.
Yeah.
Anti-big
Yep.
big LS.
We've got a T-shirt. We've got a T-shirt for it. Don't worry. Unnecessary adversity.
Subaru.
It's on the website. It's on there.
Oh my
Colin
God.
will literally
Many sizes, many colors.
when he sees a Subaru towing our pod.
Email secretrsvp@gmail.com.
For any additional.
While you're at it, go ahead and enter any contests you may see with that same email address.
Ooh.
It's very much appreciated.
Emailing lists. Yeah, all that. Just use that as your fill-in.
All of them.
Yeah. Don't want to give out your email for stuff?
Need
Just
an emergency.
use that
You
one.
need an emergency contact.
Yeah, that's a good one too. He won't know who you are, but he will excitedly come to your aid.
Absolutely.
100% will help you,
Absolutely.
and you'll be lucky for it. So, well,
Can confirm.
well, that's going to be an interesting journey to watch unfold. I think. You think by next camp season, you think that'll be done?
Honestly, I don't think so, because of the damage I've incurred on Share.
Ah, yes, that's
I
a
think
bit
I
of
put
a.
myself a little behind.
You need to find another van or two to flip.
Priority. Yeah, if anyone has any $200 vans, let me know at secretrsvp.com or at gmail.com. And then let me know if you know someone else who wants to buy that van for more than $200.
Yeah.
The more, the better. Well,
I'm going for quantity at this point.
I mean, I don't know. You passed up on a
it'll be fun.
$200 Explorer or Expedition today, didn't you?
what?
Pass up? Yes. Ford? Also, yes. Which means it's a hard no. Sorry, Ford people.
What was wrong with it, other than the circled problem?
Intake manifold needed to be replaced because the crossover pipe was leaking, and because Ford decided to put those on with fasteners upside down, and the bolts always break and the manifold always breaks when you try to change just the crossover.
Oh, nice.
So it needs a lot of work.
Got it. Loud and clear. Okay, well, that's, you'll find another one. You'll find something.
Someday.
Maybe you'll find a $200 Sequoia.
But yeah,
Who knows?
Yeah.
man.
Or a $200 Yukon XL.
I'm
Or just a regular Tahoe.
Yukon, here we come.
You could have
Here
a
comes the
Yukon on the
Sawzall.
Rubicon.
Yukon XL. That is gonna be a Ute. I know a guy with a Sawzall.
Yeah. Mike's got that fancy military grade one.
Yeah. Sawzall and poor decision making.